a petitioner who is a private person doesn't file a complaint, a petitioner who doesn't represent to the central government, a petitioner who doesn't represent to the state government, a petitioner who does not file a suit, a petitioner who files a report on the 15th of November, one day before the hearing, and then asks your lordships in a 32 petition to decide on facts. So in fact, one of my submissions is going to be that this petition doesn't lie. It should be dismissed at the outset for the asking.
These provisions are unimplementable and the Act remains inherently cruel.
Well, I hope your lordships do that in another case, not in this.
No, we are asking as a...
And I tell your lordships,
asking you as a legal proposition.
I'm talking about legal proposition. I tell your lordships why I'm saying this. Now, I'll just about in 5-10 minutes give your lordships what my submissions are going to be, so it'll be easier. Now, no gainsaying that we live in an interdependent world, and the evolution of the species, has demonstrated to us that while we are dependent on animals, the preservation of the animals is also very important for our own livelihood. But there are animals of two kinds. Over centuries, after the origin of the species, many species are becoming extinct. And there is a food chain, which is necessary for the survival of both animals and man. But there are two kinds of animals. One that are wild, so-called wild animals, and the other are domesticated animals. In the present petition, we are dealing with domesticated animals. The Act deals with both. The Act defines an animal to be a creature, a living creature who's not a man. It deals with both categories of animals.
In fact, in the Animal Welfare Act in England, which is the richest act, they have taken care to make a slight differentiation. They have said vertebrates.
Yes.
All vertebrates.
Yes, correct. Because we don't consider vertebrates, or we don't consider species who live under the ocean because they are captive to the ocean.
Correct.
So we don't treat them as animals.
But they would be included in animals.
I agree, but I'm just saying, all living creatures. Because the definition itself says.
That's right.
So we're dealing with domesticated animals. That's very important. To domesticate an animal is not an easy job. At least when I was young, I used to watch these American films with these people on horseback lassoing horses. Rodeos. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of suffering. But you still domesticate. Is it necessary? Is it unnecessary? I don't know. But the very act of domesticating an animal involves pain and suffering. Many animals don't see the light of the day. They are captive in cages. Only for us on the table. It involves pain and suffering. Is it necessary? Is it unnecessary? I don't know. As we evolve and law evolves, that question will be answered one day. But the important part is that the Act deals with unnecessary pain and suffering. So my first proposition is domestication of an animal itself is painful and the animal suffers. What is prohibited is unnecessary pain and suffering. Secondly, we are dealing with the rights of private individuals who own these animals. We're not talking about state action here, we are talking about state action in the context of entry 17, but ultimately it is to regulate the conduct of human beings, qua animals. That's the focus of the Act, to regulate the conduct not of the animals, but to regulate the conduct of human beings. The third element which is necessary for your lordships to consider is that the moment you have a legislation termed Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, there is a legislative presumption that there is the existence of cruelty. It is to prevent cruelty that the legislation has been enacted. There is the legislative presumption, and it is therefore to prevent cruelty that the law is enacted. So the underlying principle in the legislation itself is that domesticated animals are subjected to cruelty. All species, and the fact of the matter is that I will just give as a side. There is a particular culture in France where they feed a particular bird and keep it in the cage till it bursts, and then they have it on the table. One thing I agree with, that animals are sentient animals. They have sensitivities. They suffer pain, no doubt about it. All animals suffer when they are domesticated. Just imagine, you see the kind of, in the old days we used to go on Tongas, from the railway station to our homes. See the number of people who used to be on the Tonga. The poor horse used to sort of weighed down by the sheer weight, suffering. Necessary? I don't know.
What causes pain?
What causes pain? All kinds of things. Noise cause. I give you lots of examples.
What causes physiologically? What causes pain?
Any external Stimuli. Yes. Any external stimuli.
What is the mechanism by which pain is produced in a human body, for example?
Again, it's external stimuli or internal.
It is actually.
Yes, and then it is
the existence of neurons.
Yes.
In the brain.
Yes, correct. Your lordship is right.
So in fact, you see there are a lot of studies which they are really tentative. What is the nature of the pain that is caused to animals? Our brain different from the rest of the species. The existence of billions of neurons in our brain constitutes our brain.
Correct.
It goes from the receptors in your, wherever it is. Similarly, like you put a hand and take it back.
Correct.
Goes to the spine, then goes to the lower part of the brain.
Correct.
And there you have so many millions of them producing. In respect of other species, studies are going on. Actually, really, are they experiencing pain? It itself is a subject with a nascent. It is in its infancy.
I can only see the manifestation of it. You take a dog near a fire, he'll go back. So, whether, he senses danger. So, he wants to protect itself.
For example, take for example the bird.
Yes.
How does it live in the Arctic or wherever they live in the very cold regions? Their system, body mechanism.
Yes, of course.
They don't require sweaters. I would have thought, how they are protected. Nature protects. They've got a special mechanism.
Let me give you two examples,
Thick skin, you say.
Many years ago, I was in Lake Baikal, in Russia, and in Lake Baikal, there is a fish, a small little fish, which is at the bottom of the lake. And you can imagine the pressure of water on that fish. It survives. What is the mechanism? We don't know. Give you another example. I was in the Arctic many years ago again. And in the Arctic, there is a bird that comes from the Antarctic. And on a given day, comes to the end. Every year on the same day, it reaches the Arctic. And it flies back on a particular day to the Antarctic, and it knows its way. We have yet to discover all these things. But be that as it may, this is only by the way.
They have identified the principle. It enables the birds to fly exactly.
Absolutely.
They have put it down to, before the data.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that your lordship needs to appreciate, and I think where the judgment has gone completely wrong, not every duty results in a concomitant right or a corresponding right. As a matter of law, my duty to respect the national flag, there's no right involved. It's part of my duty under 51A. And several of those duties, there are no rights involved there. So that's the other aspect that your lordships will have to look at. And the judgment in Nagaraj presumes that because there is a duty to ensure the well-being of the animal, there is a right of the animal to demand well-being. No such right. Rights are given by law. Law is made by human beings. And rights are of two kinds, against the state and our relation with each other and with nature. When I say each other, it means your fellow human beings and nature. So there is no concept of rights of an animal. There is the concept of making sure that in our relationship with the animal, we follow certain moral norms. And the underlying moral norm is not to cause unnecessary pain and suffering.
A court in Ecuador is perhaps Ecuador.
Yes.
And ironically, people by the Spanish, the mix of the Spanish and the Indian tribes, they have come up with, for the first time, they have created an animal rights. Yeah. I don't know if you can get that judgment. Must be in Spanish. So, like to see that. A monkey was picked up when it was a child. If I can describe the monkey as a child. by everyone, kept as a pet for about 18 years. The officials swooped down on her, took it away, put it in a zoo or put it back in the forest. Within 1 month, monkey died of cardiac arrest.
Yes.
So she took the matter to court. And there the court said animals have rights. The one judgment, we like to see it if possible with
We'll try and get it.
Ecuador.
Right. So, Malaj, that's one aspect of it. The other is, Malaj, and that's the factual part that your lordships will have to consider. The Nagaraj judgment proceeded on a particular regime that was prevalent at that time. Now, in Nagaraj, the Animal Welfare Board presented 3 reports of 2013, pursuant to directions by this court to go and investigate as to what's happening on the ground. The report of the Animal Welfare Board of India was presented. These reports were presented to the court. The court took them as the factual basis of what was happening on the ground.
Because what they don't have this streaming, this visual thing. They instead have the audio.
Yes, I know that. I've been listening to it.
Any judgment
Yes.
on your mobile, you get the oral arguments.
That's correct. I've heard them on the.
So if you were to so used to.
That's true. So, Maharaj, now the question is, and the question is very simple, Maharaj, and I don't think it involves the issues that were raised by my learned friends on the other side. The nature of the regime has changed. Can Parliament or the legislature change the nature of the regime? The answer is yes, unless it lacks capacity. Section 3 has been amended. Can Parliament or legislature do that? The answer is yes. Section 11 has been amended. 11.3 has been amended. Section 22 has been amended. And Section 27 has been amended. The plenary power of the legislature and Parliament is to amend. Nobody can question that unless you say that it is outside of entry 17 of list 3. Nobody is saying that. They are saying it's a colorable exercise of power because it perpetuates cruelty. Cruelty is legislatively presumed in the legislation itself. And the idea is to prevent it. And therefore, the new regime seeks to prevent it. If the new regime seeks to prevent it, it can't be tolerable exercise of power, provided that bulls may continue to be exhibited or trained as a performing animal at events such as Jallikattu in Tamil Nadu and bullock cart races in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Punjab, Haryana, Kerala, and Gujarat, in the manner by the customs of any community or practice traditionally, under the customs or as part of culture in any part of the country subject to the following conditions. Miller, just note here there are 2 aspects. One, custom or part of culture. I'm not going to argue the culture part of it. My learned colleague, Mr. Dwivedi, will do that. But it's covered under custom as well. Then what does it say? On the following conditions. Such event shall take place in any district where it is being traditionally held annually at such place explicitly permitted by the district collector or the district magistrate. 2. Bullock cart race shall be organized on a proper track which shall not exceed 2 kilometers. In case of Jallikattu, the moment the bull leaves the enclosure, it shall be tamed within radial distance of 15 meters. 3. Ensure that bulls are put to proper testing by the authorities of the Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Department to ensure that they are in good physical condition to participate in the event and performance-enhanced drugs are not administered to the bulls in any form. That's the change of regime that I was talking about. That's the argument I was making. Ensure that the rights conferred upon the animals under Section 3 and Clause A and Clause M of subsection 1 of Section 11 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act and 5 freedoms declared by the Supreme Court are fully protected during such events. And provided further that any event of Jallikattu or bullock cart races so organized shall be held with the prior approval of the district authorities concerned, provided also further the Jallikattu or bullock cart races so organized shall be duly monitored by the District Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals and State Animal Welfare Board or district authorities, as the case may be, ensuring that no unnecessary pain or suffering is inflicted or caused in any manner whatsoever during the course of such events or the preparation thereof. This brought about the regime change.
So challenge that.
Right.
Notification will be challenged.
Yes, very much.
It is twice so that the act came in.
Yes, exactly. Therefore, Mother, that's the background to the amendments. Yes, and subsequently withdrawn also. Subsequently also withdrawn at that instance. Mother, notification is state, then the amendment, then it was withdrawn. Now kindly see, Mother, now section 3 in this context, read section, the amendment to 3. At page 138. Notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, conduct of Jallikattu subject to such rules and regulations as may be framed by the state government shall be permitted. When you say subject to such rules and regulations, it has to be consistent with the notification. So it's not absolute. My Lord put it to me. This is not some absolute prescription, I can do what I like. Because your Lordship asked a very fundamental question. Does the judgment say that Jallikattu in any form cannot be done? Can't, Mullah. No judicial verdict can say that in no form unless the act is struck down. That this is per se cruel. Means the fact itself, that's the argument also that is sought to be made. But that argument does not take account of the fact that the conclusion in paragraph 31 is in the view of the above facts.
Saying that 53, 54, those passages,
Yes.
those have been relied on.
Yes.
Saying that it's inherently painful.
Correct. In the light of the above facts. See, just read para 31, Malaz. It just in volume
Yes,
5.
We remember.
Yes. We have to examine in the light of the above facts whether the events that are being done, conducted in the states of Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra are in violation of so and so, so and so. That the above facts are the 3 reports. The 3 reports is the ears are mutilated, they are administered alcohol, the tails are cut, the spine is cut, the tails are twisted, that's all, regime is gone.
Document has been advanced.
Yes, Mother.
That in spite of whatever is produced as whatever provisions are there
Yes.
to prevent cruelty,
Yes.
at the implementation level, these are not being followed.
Yes. Yes.
And it's actually we'll have to lay down some principle that if a law contains many preventive measures, but if in real life it is found that these are violated in toto,
Correct.
then would it be open for the court
Yes.
to hold that these provisions are unimplementable and the act remains inherently cruel?
Whereas I hope your lordships do that in another case, not in this.
No, we are asking as
And
a,
I tell your lordship,
we are asking you as a legal proposal.
I am talking about legal proposition. I tell your lordships why I am saying this. This report that my learned friend relied upon was filed in this court on the 15th of November, one day before the hearing. It is a private investigation. One day before the hearing, the state of Tamil Nadu has not yet been served with this. That's why I said, well, let's leave it for another case.
This one.
This 15th of November. And then they said it's uncontroverted. Whereas we'd like to know what is this procedure in law that a report is filed one day before the hearing. Well, just think about it. This practice has been continuing since when? Since 2017. That's the position where the Act came into force in 2017. We're in 2022. Have they filed a single FIR in the state of Tamil Nadu for violation of the rules?
According to you, this report does not have any probative value.
None, zero. Which is why, I said, maybe in another.
let's forget about this report.
I'm sorry? Yes.
Let's forget about the report.
Yes.
But the argument was that whatever the amendments have been made
Yes.
in 2017, these are all cosmetic changes. And the previous provisions and the later provisions, I can say subsection 2 or section 3, subject to rules. If you go to the rules, apart from only some kind of a cosmetic changes have been given effect to, otherwise the rules standard remain the same.
Absolutely. I'll show that, Mulaz. I've got the rules, I've got a chart, I've got a comparison. I'll demonstrate to your logic that's completely wrong. Mulaz, this is the problem. This is the problem. We're in a 32 petition. We're in a 32 petition. There is no foundation of fact. No foundation. Your lordships are now assuming a lot of facts which are not before the court. And your lordships have been asked to adjudicate that in a 32 petition, meaning that the changes are cosmetic. What's the judicial basis of deciding that? That the changes are cosmetic? In fact, Mulaz, if your lordships ask me, not as representing a party, this is no process of adjudication. To file a 32 petition, you don't do anything from 2017 to 2022. There's not a single FIR. There is not a single complaint. There is not a single representation. You file an investigation report of an international agency, and Mulaz, I'm not criticizing the agency. You file a report on by an international agency 1 day before the hearing. You don't serve it on the state of Tamil Nadu, and then you make submissions that this is uncontroverted, and your lordships will have to decide on that matter in a 32 petition. How is it possible? If Mulaz, he has a grievance on the process, let me answer directly, your lordships, this question. If he has a grievance on the process, there are two ways he can address that grievance. One, he can address it to the government, to the central government, that look, these rules have been made by Tamil Nadu, you have given assent, but see what's happening on the ground. Send the Animal Welfare Board of India to find out what's happening on the ground. Use that report just as it was done in the 2014 judgment. Use that report on what is happening on the ground and seek redressal. That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is to file a suit and say that, look, the state of Tamil Nadu has framed these rules and these private persons are conducting this Jallikattu in this fashion, which is entirely contrary to the rules, and the state is not doing anything about it.
One thing. Now this report, it seems that it is by PETA.
Yes.
And this is the petitioner in petition 26.
Yes.
Petition.
Yes.
And subsequent to the submission of this,
Yes.
now they are actually not pressing this.
Yes. Yes. The notification. That's the notification.
No. It is submitted that only the second petitioner is pressing this repetition.
That's the Animal Welfare Board that's gone out of the picture.
That is what I am saying.
Yes. Yes.
We are saying PETA, they have submitted this report.
Yes. Yes.
After submitting the report,
Yes.
now they are not pressing their repetition.
Yes. No,
They are different bodies.
they're different bodies. No?
No, it is better. People for ethical treatment of animals, whether it is one and the same or not. Take the repetition about
They're a private body. They are a private body. PETA is a private body.
That is why.
Welfare Board is not, Mulaz. That's the statutory body, which is the reports, 2013 report this was submitted.
Take this discussion and conclusion towards findings of PETA.
Yes. Yes, I'll take that. That's what it's right about.
Only to have clarification on that.
Yes, I certainly clarify, Mulaz.
At page number 88,
Yes.
the caption is discussion and conclusion.
Give it to me. Where is my file?
Whether this report is by PETA or any other body.
No, just by PETA, Mulaz.
That is why.
Yes.
See the findings of PETA.
Yes.
And now take this repetition. It is the first petition is PETA means the people for ethical treatment of animals.
Animals, correct.
Animals.
Correct.
So that organization is the first petitioner.
That's correct.
That is why we are asking. After submitting this, now
They have not withdrawn. PETA has not withdrawn.
first petitioner is saying that the second petition alone is it seems that was the submission.
No, PETA has not withdrawn. The first petition in 23 is the Animal Welfare Board of India.
It is in 23.
Yes, in 23, Mulaz, not 16, not
It
16.
is not in 20.
So, Mulaz, so this is, now I would like to know, in the suit somebody will have to plead facts. Somebody will
There
have
also,
Yeah.
it is the petitioner's report.
Yes, that's precisely my argument, Mulaz. That's
That is why
precisely my
it is
argument.
the petitioners.
A
Whether they are present or not, it
petitioner,
is the
who remains quiet from 2017 to 2022